Thank you again for having me. I'm excited to talk about what Commscope has to offer for our enrollment system for secure. What I'd like to do is first start off by just talking about some definitions, right? And for those who've actually saw this on Tuesday, I apologize. It's pretty much repeat, but basically definitions. When I'm going to talk about any user, what I'm particularly referencing is anybody that comes into your network, whether it's a guest, whether it's a staff member, whether it's a facility, whether it's a student. Any user is any type of system or device, and it's mainly focused towards bring your own device, right? We all are running into the experience where it's all BYOD, that type of engagement. The other thing is when they're bringing all their own devices, you're going to get any type of device. We're talking phones, we're talking tablets, we're talking laptops, we're talking PCs. So when I mean any device, I truly mean any device. Even things such as the IoT. We heard a little earlier today how Microsoft is securing a lot of that around IoT. That's the same thing. They still need a secure access onto your network and how it's going to talk to it. And again, any network. For example, is what I'm going to talk about today on how we bring people on board. It doesn't matter if it's a Commscope network, Cisco, some of the other ones, whatever the different network is we are an overlay on top of that to bring people on board securely. So I just want you to understand that when I reference that, I mean anything. So just like anybody, we always talk about what are we starting to see and where we're going to solve this, right? The first thing that we start seeing is help desk, right? We're all getting there. We all have, whether you have 10,000 students, you have 10,000 workers. One of the biggest problems that help desk are running into today is having more calls about people getting securely on their network, right? Whether it's for a school, whether it's for a corporation, whether it's for state or government, it's all about getting people on. And usually it's forgotten passwords, it's forgotten, they didn't have the right OS, they didn't have anything, they didn't know what to do, so they had to pick up the phone and call the help desk, right? The other thing that we're starting to see, which is today is all about, that we're seeing how Azure and all these guys really interact, are the security threats. So what kind of posture are you going to put out there to actually now have, from a security standpoint, control those people that are coming on? And then lastly is the user experience. A lot of things that we're talking about, and when it comes from security, that we forget about is that user experience and being able to say, hey, how do we make it easier for our clients, for our customers, for our users, for our employees to connect easily? This is where Cloudpath comes into play. For end users, they get on real simple. They can actually control their own devices. It's self-access. They can do it themselves. For IT departments, it's going to cut down your trouble tickets. In fact, I just had a very large school district in Waco ISD that just did this, and they used to get, 15 to 20 calls a day. They probably get 1 to 3 a week now. So they're really great reference for this and talk about it. So IT departments, you can now start focusing on other security access versus just onboarding people and getting their systems in, right? You can define those profiles beforehand. And then for devices, right? You might want to control what kind of devices are allowed to connect to your network, right? What kind of OS, what kind of security posture that those devices have to have. To be able to do that, that's what Cloudpath offers, a software solution to do that. So what is Cloudpath? Cloudpath in a nutshell is an enrollment system that's a software and SaaS that delivers a secure network access for users and allows them to do it from any device on any network. We have millions of customers that are out there today. We're actually over the 10 million now, and we're actually over 900 customers using this today. So I got to update that slide. You got a lot of kids. So what Cloudpath really is basically off 3 blocks. First is policy management. So policy management is just the ability to basically enforce policies, saying what do you want it to do? Do you want it to be connected to certain networks? What are they at? The resources based upon that policy. and you're able to now develop these. The second building block is just device management and enabling. So you might want to say only certain type of devices, certain OSs, certain features on those devices have to be activated, such as firewalls, such as intrusion protection, right? Whatever you want to make them have to do malware, you can actually now require them to do that. And then the thirdly is managing certificates. So security and certificate management, meaning it's a platform that allows you now easily, and I'm going to talk about this in a few minutes, to basically build these blocks that you now can revoke certificates, manage it, very simple. There's also easy ways to deploy our system. We have it built into the cloud, hence the name Cloudpath. So you can sign up, it's a subscription based, and you can just sign up for how many users you're going to do. Unlike other vendors in this area, we only charge, or we only subscribe per user. So per user accounts, and that's what's set up. We also have a way to deploy it is you can actually do onboarding. So you can run it in your data center on some VM or Hyper-V. And then on top of that, you can do either subscription-based for support and things, or it could be perpetual where you own it, manage it, and run it. So it's very easy for multiple deployments and what your requirements are. So let's talk about the policy management real quick. This is really kind of the key factor, is what you're able to do is define these policies and the posture that you want in each one, meaning what kind of users, right? Depending on where they're at. Are they staff? Is it a BYOD, right? Did they bring their own? It's a student that brought it in, or a guest might have different access than what you as IT have actually provided, right? Because you know what OS, you know what firewalls on it, you know what kind of policy and procedures are set on it. So now what you do is you can create these different policies based in Cloudpath and then assign them. So as users come in, they get assigned their policy based off the device and what you've set up, and then it puts them into the correct network. What I mean by that is, this is a perfect example. So day one, a user comes in, depending on the device that they have, whether it's their BYOD, whether it's a guest, right, wherever you want to put them. And we create this architecture of onboarding that just basically is the old type, what I always say, if then the, if this, then that, right? If then statements. And it's very easy to understand that you can use when you build these configurations. You can just say, are you an employee or a guest? If you are, you go to log in with AD, or how you're going to, log in. We also say if you're a visitor, are you sponsored or unsponsored? Your typical things like you see. We have all this very simple on how to build it through a nice GUI interface. I really don't demo that today because of the short, because we could spend an hour plus going through that. So the key is once they do this on day one, we now assign them a certificate that has all the policies built in, whatever time frame you're going to revoke that certificate. It's all built in. The users don't even know that they get put onto the correct network, and now they're connected. So day two, when they bring in their own iPad or their phone back and they connect, they don't have to go through that again because they already have a certificate, and you know who they are, you know where they're at, you've already enforced that posture, and it's ready to go. So I'm just kind of simplifying it, but as you see, we actually have a very clean process to make that happen. So here's kind of an example of a video. This is off a Google phone, where you go in, you accept the terms and conditions, you hit, a user can come in now, type in their username, right? And again, we're on the back end using AD or some other type of authentication factor that we're talking to. We can actually even do MAC authentication too. So if you have some IoT type devices or headless devices, we could support that into this so it all gets into the right network. Once they do that, they can come in here, install this network certificate. This is what you're going to see. That's going in real time. Doesn't take long. So right now, the phone or device, it could be a phone, a laptop, is now uploading. It's connecting to the correct network. And again, we talked earlier, this could be wired or wireless. I know I'm showing you wireless, but keep in mind, this can go to either one. Once they're done, they're going to tell them they're connected, then come in, press done, and that's it. They're ready and off to day two. They are now connected to the network. This is a version of what it looks like on the web interface. It's fully customizable. It is just HTML. So, I mean, I don't have to get too simple on that, but you put your logo, you put everything, you can set your own terms and conditions. You can put whatever it is for your organization. So whether you're a state or government with its regulations, whether you're a university, whatever you want to be, you can actually set all those and do that. It's real simple, very friendly, and it's that user experience that I discussed earlier, right? That's important. We got to make sure. So what is Cloudpath bringing together with the software? It really gives you a simple way and building blocks to build these onboarding processes and workflows. What we can do is customize it by user. We can customize it by device, as I discussed, right? It's entirely self-service from that user. So example is, if you only want users to be able to bring home no more than 2 devices of personal devices, you can set that. And it's up to the user now to self-service. If they get a new phone, if they get a new device, they have to remove an old one, right? You don't have to have those calls into your IT help desk anymore, right? It's a very simple platform to build these steps to get you where you need to go. So a lot of people at this point are asking, okay, is this a NAC? Is this a MDM, right? It's kind of a combination. So I've used this slide to kind of explain where it fits. I always say we're kind of a NAC light, right? We're not going to get into the application side of it, right? We stop at the device and making sure it's enrolled in the right. We're supporting all the different network encryptions and what's going on. We're supporting the user identifications, back end with some authentication with AD and other things that we can use for that, like other firewalls. We get into the device. We know what it is. We know what the OS that they're using. We can tell you what they're connecting with. And all this takes place. And so this kind of gives you a visual of where Cloudpath fits in and what kind of support that each of the device systems will manage. Okay, hopefully that helps. These are just, the other thing is we're open APIs, right? Just like everybody, right? You gotta be open, you gotta be able to work with other people. These are just a few that there's a slideshow that's an eye-catching thing. I don't use it, but we've got multiple technology partners in this space. These are just a few because these are usually what we get in education and higher ed, where we can connect to different firewalls, use them for authentication if you want, or for the to be able to do the VPNs or tunneling, anything you're going to do there. We have integration into content management systems such as Lightspeed and some others. So we do have open APIs. So even if you don't see it on this slide, doesn't mean that we can't help integrate into those third-party type products. Okay. So due to time, because I'm trying to keep it under my 15 minutes here, let's talk about some of the benefits, right? First is we streamline the network onboarding. I know I kind of gave it a high level view, but you saw from the video how easy it is for an end user to get on it. That's what we want to do. We want to make that experience for end users that they don't know that they just went through a security check, a posture, right? We check their OS, we check for firewalls. There's a lot of things that's happening there in the back end that they don't even know that's happening. And we want to keep it that way, right? We want to streamline it, make it simple. And then that makes it easy to increase IT security without anybody knowing. We're actually adding this other layer on top just from the onboarding side of it. And we're not taking the place of fire. We're not taking the place of all the other things that are happening. That's still going. This is just an onboarding type situation where and it lets you define these policies. What's nice is within Cloudpath, those building blocks that we talked about is you're going to be able to define and manage those different policies that you want to push depending on the user, their role, and what kind of device that they have. It gives you visibility and control because now you're managing those certs. So you can set them up and say, and I'm going to use this as an example because it's real simple to understand is, schools. Schools have 2 times a year where most people got to come in, students and staff come in, and that they really got to worry about what kind of devices they have and when they're connecting, right? It's at the very beginning of the year, and it's when they all get back from Christmas break, right? Because they all got their new stuff over the summer, and they get it all new when it's at the end of the year. So you can now have visibility and control into when you're going to make them re-authenticate and how long do you let a device, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. So you can do that. And again, the biggest thing is it reduces the call center stuff because we're making it letting the clients handle themselves on things. So we're reducing the burden on them. One last one I'm going to go with, sticking with the schools concept that I'm going to talk about, is Grand Rapids. They have about 10,000 students. They have about over 1,000 staff and faculty. They have over, I want to say off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I've been doing this a lot. They have just over 1,000 access points, right under 1,100 access points also throughout the school. So they've got over 11,000 people that are getting on and off and that they got to manage and make it simple. So what we did there is we were able to just put Cloudpath on top of it. They were able now to simplify that and reduce the calls to the help desk and do it in a secure manner. And it doesn't interfere with everything else that they're doing, such as their content keepers and other things that they're managing. So that's it. I'm about a minute over. I apologize, Ron, but I want to thank everybody for their time and listening to me. I know you're all hopefully getting something to eat. And
why don't you do this? We had a couple of questions as we'll gear up for Grant from Checkpoint. Maybe you could describe who's the certificate authority you're using there, Corey, to manage the certificates. That's a question from Ton from Schlumberger.
Okay, excellent. Great question. So we have two ways to do it. We can use our own, right? Self-signed certs. Obviously on some devices, sometimes that comes up with a little error and they just got to say, I accept, right? We've all seen that. Or we can point to another. If you have your own CA cert, so we can do external or internal on that. And thank you, Ron, because I don't have the questions up right now. So I appreciate you looking those up for me.
Got it. And you also had a question about, and then we've got, which I think is interesting, how do you prevent the certificate from being exported from Linux machines that don't have secure certificate stores?
Yeah, so we got that one actually on Tuesday, right? So it's a repeat on that one. So obviously there's certain things that you got to be able to, and luckily within the certificate, right, when we do the posture check, we are checking things such as device names, things that are happening within it. So when it comes back on for the next posture, we're going to notice it. And then you can either be alerted, right? We can set it out to a different system. We can do what we want. And then we're able to, revoke the certificate or how you want to do it.